As the lead economic development agency in the county, we're going to be all hands on deck to make sure that the local businesses have all the information they need. So, if you think there's something we can be doing to help, please let me know. If you need help, let me know.
Today we're here with Rob Fix, the Executive Director of the Port of Bellingham, and we're going to talk a little bit about economic development in Bellingham, the impacts of COVID-19 on our community as it relates to the port. So welcome, Rob, for being here. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about the port.
Absolutely. So, Rob, can you tell us a little bit about what the port does and sort of your scope within Whatcom County? I know a lot of people might not be familiar with everything that the port does, but give us a quick overview, if you would.
Sure. The port is its own special purpose government. I report to 3 elected officials. Any voter in Whatcom County has the ability to vote on those individuals. And that's our board of directors, if you will. They set the policy and the procedures for the port and tell me what to do. And my job is to go execute it. The port runs the Bellingham International Airport. That's probably our most known thing that we run. We run the 2 marinas in Whatcom County, the Blaine Marina and the Squalicum Harbor Marina. We run the shipping terminal at the end of Cornwall there, the cruise terminal down in Fairhaven, and we have substantial real estate holdings. And those real estate holdings tend to be marine trades focused, although we do have other businesses that occupy port properties. And then outside of those 4 kind of key revenue areas, again, that was the airport, the marinas, the marine terminals, and the real estate. We have a kind of a public purpose section, and that public purpose section includes economic development, where we are charged with leading the economic development efforts throughout Whatcom County. We do environmental cleanups out of that public purpose, and we manage our parks and open spaces out of that fund, if you will. So pretty diverse group. Marinas are much different than airports, and that's obviously much different than the environmental cleanup division. But yeah, our responsibilities are countywide.
Yeah, for sure. So with coronavirus in Whatcom County, I imagine the airport must have been really hit hard by this whole thing. Can you talk a little bit about the airport and the impact that coronavirus has had on that?
Yeah, the airport's by far the biggest hit when it comes to port operations. We were put through 1,000 to 1,500 passengers a day, and we're now down to 1 or 2. It's a big, drastic reduction. The month of April and May will probably see a 92% reduction in air traffic, if not more. The airport makes its revenue to pay its bills off of PFCs, which is a passenger facility charge. It's $4.50 for every ticket you buy. And then we make our largest share of revenue at the airport off parking revenue. So obviously, when we've lost all of our passengers, we've lost our parking revenue, we've lost our PFCs, and unfortunately, our bills haven't gone down. There's not a lot of variable expenses in an airport. They're mostly fixed costs. So it's really hard to adjust your revenues downward that quickly. That being said, we have 15 full-time employees there right now. Full staffing for us is 18. We put a hiring freeze in effect, so we won't be hiring those other 3 individuals. We hope to not have to lay anyone off. Just natural attrition got us to that 15. And hopefully we can keep our revenues intact enough and see enough of a recovery that there's no other significant changes to the airport. The airport was lucky enough to receive some federal funding, and that federal funding came in right around $5 million. And that $5 million mostly has to be used for capital projects. But the difference between this and other federal grants we've received for the airport in the past is this money doesn't have to be locally matched. In the past, we had to come up with local money to do a project. In this case, we can use 100% of that $5 million to do a project. And this allows us to then not have to spend precious port money on getting some much needed capital improvements done at our airport. So that federal money came just in time and is going to be, I sleep better at night knowing that we have it.
Yeah. Is there any sense of progress or when we're going to be able to come out of this, when air traffic will return to Bellingham and what that'll mean for our economy? What are you seeing?
Yeah, it's a hard one to predict. The airline industry is running a bunch of models right now. We're staying on top of that. We've got our own airline consultant running their models. We're looking at the airlines models, and everyone's trying to figure that out. But the one consensus, the models all differ, by the way, but the one thing they all agree on is that the recovery in air traffic will follow the rest of the economy and probably followed by quite a bit. It'll be one of the last things to recover. And you can see why. You're getting into a tin box with a bunch of, a couple hundred other people. That's not the most, it's not going to be on top of people's minds right away. And then, our airport tends to be a recreational traveler more than a business traveler. And that kind of discretionary spending is the first thing to be cut in any kind of recessionary environment. Business travel tends to come back a little quicker. We have a little bit of that on our Horizon flights to Seattle, but certainly the recreational travel that we take to Vegas or to San Diego, that could be a while. And by a while, I'm talking 6 months to a year or even several years.
Yeah. So, what about other areas of the port? What are you seeing out there in terms of how this has affected the Port of Bellingham?
Well, you go to our parks and they're empty. We don't usually see that. I drove by the pump track yesterday. We actually did a quick little repair job on it, staying socially distant from each other. But since no one was on it, we thought we could do some repairs to it. And no one's on it, which is, since it's been built, that thing has been packed. Even when we had it closed for inclement weather and for damage, people were still riding it.
Yeah, I know. I drive by there every day, and it's a little surreal seeing the pump track just sitting there with no one on it.
It's just sad. We put so much effort into building that thing and we're so proud of it. And then it just sits there empty. And I really wanted to ride it yesterday, but I thought that might not look good, a picture of me riding a closed pump track. So I didn't. But hopefully we'll be able to get that open here in the near future. I heard the governor say yesterday he wants to relax some of the recreational restrictions, amongst other restrictions, and get people outside. I think that's a healthy thing to do. And if we can do that, we've already talked about ways where we can create kind of a grocery style store distancing, if you will, where we have X's on the ground and you line up at your X and we make the thing a one-way trail, and maybe we can take turns riding it. But we're starting to think about things like that, and as things open back up, we'd love to get that back open.
Yeah, we've made it through the rough winter in the Pacific Northwest, and we want to go outside. We want to play.
We're all getting a little stir crazy inside for sure. We're not indoor people.
Yeah. Okay. So with the Port of Bellingham, you're also in charge of managing some of the funds that have been allocated by the state for relief efforts to small businesses in particular. Can you talk about those programs and some of the things that are available for small businesses in our community?
Yeah, so the Paycheck Protection Program was a federal program, and that dried up pretty quickly, but several local businesses were the beneficiary of that. Unfortunately, not everyone who wanted it got it, but I am hearing that Congress is working on a fourth COVID practice package, which would then allow some of those other businesses to participate in that Paycheck Protection Program, which allows you, it basically requires you to keep all your employees, and then the government will pay those over a period of time. So it's a good program, but like I said, it ran out of funds pretty early, and we're hopeful that they can get their act together and pass another one. We also had some state money available. The governor made monies available, and small businesses applied for that. We're allowed to turn in 100 applications for, I think it was less than 20 funding sources. And we got 700 applications, and we had to weed through those. And unfortunately, 600 businesses were not allowed to participate in that, but 100 local businesses were. And out of that, there'll be, I think it's 17 people that actually get funded. So a very, very low number. So we're continuing to encourage the state to try and make more of those funds available. And our economic development team is heading up the Unified Command economic development effort. And in doing that, they're just trying to identify resources that local businesses can use, whether that's funding from state or funding from the feds, or even counseling services for business counseling on how businesses can survive this rough period. So they're all working pretty hard. They're working a lot of overtime. I'm proud of their efforts, and they're all available by email or by phone if you wanted to reach out to them.
Yeah, that's great. What other parts of the port have been affected by this, or is there any other? I know, like with the ferry and with other things that are kind of on the marine side of things. What impacts are you seeing there?
Well, you nailed it with the ferry. It was already sidelined because of mechanical issues, and we're expecting it to come back first in March and then in April, and now we're looking at mid-June before the ferry returns. So another area where we collect kind of a per ticket fee like the airport that won't be coming into the port. And probably more importantly, though, is we have a lot of local businesses, contractors, et cetera, that send things up to Alaska on that ferry. And that source of transportation is not available to them right now. And as you can imagine, sending it by airplane or by barge is prohibitively expensive as compared to putting it on that ferry. So and in this case, I'm a lot less worried about the port's revenue loss on the cruise terminal as I am the local business's inability to do commerce with the state of Alaska. Other areas affected by the port, the marinas have been somewhat affected. We're going to do much like our real estate portfolio, we'll be doing a deferred rental program there. Fishermen, they're having a hard time. Commercial charter services are having a hard time. Basically, anyone who's doing business right now is struggling. So the port has created a deferred rental program. The Port Commission approved that about 2 weeks ago. And what that allows a business to do is defer 3 months of their rent and pay it back over the next 12 months. We recognize that March, in some cases, April, May, June are just hard periods for these businesses, and they shouldn't have to worry about paying the port. We'll allow them to defer that rent, again, over a 12-month period of time if they can show that they've had some financial hardship, which is pretty easy for most people to do at this point.
Yeah. So where can people go to find more information about what the port is doing, how people can be supported through the port, or just other resources in the community that are available?
Yeah, Port's website's a great one. Click on our website, go to our economic development page, reach out to someone on our economic development team, email me. I'm Rob F. at portofbellingham.com. If you can't find out what you're looking for, let me know and I'll try and hook you up with the right source.
Great. Is there anything else that you want to add about the port and the port's role in helping us to get through this together?
Yeah, as the lead economic development agency in the county, we're going to be all hands on deck to make sure that the local businesses have all the information they need. We're going to try and cut through the red tape. The port is not a bureaucratic institution. We have a much different charter than, say, a city or county. I'm not being critical of cities or counties. I just think we have it a little easier when it comes to these things. The legislation is written as such. So, if you think there's something we can be doing to help, please let me know. If you need help, let me know. And keep your eye on our webpage, keep your eye on our Facebook, and we'll try and we're all in this together, and we're going to try and be a role model and the lead on getting out of this. The port is starting to ramp up some of its construction projects that are allowed under the law. And we're doing that for a couple of reasons. One, it's a good time to get some projects done because there's no one around. But two, the local contractors want to get back to work and they need the revenue to pay their people. And some of these businesses weren't recipients of the Paycheck Protection Program. So by putting them to work on these projects in a safe manner, we can start to keep the money moving to those businesses.
Awesome. Real quick, can we get a quick waterfront update? What can we expect in the next year here from the waterfront?
Yeah, you're going to see those residents start to be built. The shoreline permit, I guess, has been issued. They're waiting on their building permits from the city. I think that's would have come by now had it not been for COVID, but obviously that's understandable. Things are a little delayed in that respect. The granary building is now pre-occupied. There's a salon in the upper tower section. So if you want to get your hair done, your nails done, you get a great view from there while you do it. Some of the businesses on the first floor, which is going to be kind of a market concept, they're starting to do their tenant improvements. And I understand they've got a really hot lead on a company for the second floor, which will be more like an office space. Now, there's also a yoga studio in there on the third floor if you want to go get some exercise there. So I think when the residence starts to be under construction, you'll see a lot more activity down there. It'd be great to get some people living down there because as you have that 24-hour activity, it's when you'll really start to see things take off. And as soon as the Harcourt starts their construction on that second project, and we think they're making good progress, we'll start to talk about the third project and what that might be. Up till today, or up till a month ago, I would have thought it was going to be a hotel in the former board mill building. But I'm not sure building a hotel right now will be on top of people's minds. I think we're going to have a lot of additional hotel capacity, and adding to that supply is probably not the most strategic thing to be doing.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to be watching that pretty carefully, and we'll see. Exciting to see all that stuff come together down there.
Yeah, and the pump track, you can't talk about that enough. Everyone wants to get on it, so that's the most activity we've had on the waterfront, and hopefully we can get that back open and get people riding that in a safe manner. So keep your eye on our Facebook page for that as well.
Sounds good. I know there's a lot of people eager to get out there again and play around on that. Well, Rob, thank you so much for your time today and for being a part of this series and for all the work that you're doing in the community.
Well, thank you, Josh. Great segment. Appreciate you having me on, and best of luck, and stay healthy and stay safe.
Likewise. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.